The Jeff Crilley Show. We're talking about some major banking investment in North Texas and particularly southern Dallas. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, one thing we can all agree on, Texas is a very pro-business state. We've seen people moving from California and New York where there's been lockdowns and the economy has suffered, but Texas is open for business, and to do business, you have to have a great banking relationship. So to talk about that today, Chris Furlow, he is the president and CEO of the Texas Bankers Association. Thanks for coming on the show.
Jeff, thanks so much for the opportunity to be here with you.
Well, give everybody a little background on you, because you have an interesting path into the banking world.
Well, I've been blessed to work both in the private sector and in Washington, D.C., understanding how our government works and sometimes doesn't work to the benefit of our communities and our economy. Spent some time on Capitol Hill around 9/11, had worked at the White House in the Bush administration, both at the Commerce Department and in Homeland Security. So really risk management, government affairs, all those things that our banking community really is engaged in today to support not only the banks, but their communities. And so, again, I've just been blessed that I've had the opportunities I have.
And your timing is perfect because cybersecurity is so hot right now, and it's such an important subject for your industry to deal with, and you have a background in that.
Absolutely, and cybersecurity touches everyone's life. And for our banks, we have specific requirements that we have to meet in order to protect customer data. And so we value the privacy and the information of our customers very much, and we're spending more and more time focusing on cybersecurity. For the Texas Bankers Association, we've actually established what's called an ISAO, an Information Sharing and Analysis Organization, so that our Texas community banks can actually communicate on threats and combat them. So we are putting a focus on that, again, for our customers.
Okay, so what is the Texas Bankers Association? And everybody's heard of it, but what do you guys stand for?
You know, the Texas Bankers Association was founded in 1885. It is the oldest and largest state banking organization in the United States. And our job is to advocate on behalf of the banks in Texas, from the largest all the way down to the very smallest community bank. But at our heart, we're a community bank organization. Most of our members are community banks here in Texas. You'd mentioned the Texas economy. Our banks underpin the Texas economy, and it's why the relationship that our banks have with their communities is so important. And they are personal relationships, which in some business things are transactional, but in banking, again, it gets into folks' most private affairs, gets into their hopes and dreams, and we really appreciate the opportunity to work on behalf of Texans across the state.
And you've got a lot of new business banking relationships because of the PPP program, and I know you're very proud of how your bankers responded to that. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, you know, during the pandemic, the PPP program really did help support the American economy. And just here in Texas, Texas banks helped to process over $60 billion in PPP loans, nearly 1 million loans to small business. So you know that helped to literally put food on the table by saving jobs, saving those small businesses in our state. We're obviously very proud of that effort.
And you should be. And we found a great video on your website. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
I'm Michelle Carfello with the Texas Bankers Association, and I have Jim Wang from Jinya Ramen Bar and Grace Lynn of Golden Bank in Houston, Texas. Jim, can you tell me what the PPP loan means to your business?
Money that's injected into a business will get us through the toughest times. And this PPP loans what got us through. And Golden Bank backed us all the way on this. They helped us. All the people, I mean, I'm not good with paperwork. I'm a restaurant operator, okay? I can cook a really, really good bowl of ramen. But if you give me a stack of paperwork to fill out, I'm a little bit lost. But I'll be honest with you, Grace kind of held my hand through this. She says, hey, this is what you need to do step by step. And they stepped up. They stepped up and made it happen.
Our bank so far has processed over 1,000 PPP loan application just within 2 months, okay? And I am proud of my team. We are glad and assist to help the local business fighting through this difficult time.
When this crisis happened, I didn't reach out to them. They reached out to me. They said, Jim, we understand it's going to be a very tedious process. Everybody's lost right now. What's going on? But just letting you know, we know what's going on. We'll be there for you. So from the bottom of my heart, all I can say is to Grace, to everybody at Golden Bank, we are indebted, and we are very, very appreciative.
On behalf of the Texas Bankers Association, I thank you both for your time and efforts, because we know with strong banks make stronger communities.
I love to hear stories like that. Let's talk about Southern Dallas, because I know you're making a lot of investment in Southern Dallas right now.
You know, it's really important for the banking community to be involved in every community. And in Southern Dallas in particular, that area has suffered for a long time. And but there's some good news out there. We're really proud of the fact that our banks are stepping up. Just a few examples. Texas Capital Bank recently announced that they were going to be helping to finance to the tune of $110 million affordable housing in the bottom neighborhood. Affordable housing is really an important issue for not just Southern Dallas, but all of Dallas, and so we're really proud of that. In Mill City, we also have a couple of banks that are helping there. We got Benchmark Bank and Wells Fargo that are supporting building affordable housing, 300 units in that community. And then the Redbird Mall project. I think many folks have known about Redbird Mall, and we've got banks that are supporting the development there, not just retail. The retail is important because it's also bringing in affordable housing adjacently. It's bringing in the medical center, the Parkland Health Center that's going to be there as well. And behind that are banks. It's Texas Capital Bank, Texas Brand Bank, Texas Security Bank. And they're stepping up to really bring life in association with other partners to really help that community. And I think one of the things that we've seen recently, Bank of America made a $1 million grant to that Parkland Health Center there at Redbird. Those are just a few anecdotes, but from the data that we have, we know that more than $2.5 billion in loans and investment have been made in Southern Dallas. So the banks are stepping up. We know that there is much more to do that can be done. And one of the things we're trying to do is really focus in on what partnerships can we build to enable better access to capital. It's in the best interest of banks to expand their markets. Absolutely. And so how do we help Southern Dallas become more sustainable from an economic standpoint? How do we help build the community? Because that, in turn, is a market for our banks. That's helping to put back into infrastructure in our schools and our roads, all types of investments. And so we're excited about what's taking place. There's still much more to do.
I know one relationship you have is the Advanced Community Fund. Talk a little bit about that.
You know, the Advanced Community Fund is what's called a CDFI. It's a Community Development Financial Institution. And its mission is to really help to fill gaps in lending. The Advanced Community Fund is something that we at the Texas Bankers Association, which is funded by banks, is really helping to support so that we can help fill any types of funding and lending gaps that may be not only across Southern Dallas, but in North Texas.
And I know you and I were talking off camera, diversity is a big initiative for the Texas Bankers.
You know, it's terribly important for the banking industry itself to lead when it comes to diversity in our workforce. And we're very proud. In fact, we're leading the nation in a couple of initiatives. One is to ensure that we have the next generation of banking executives, that is diversified. And so the Texas Bankers Association has invested $100,000 in the banking program. at Texas Southern and the Jesse H. Jones School of Business. Our goal is to create the premier historically black college and university banking program in the nation. And yes, we've made that $100,000 investment, but Texas banks have invested now over $3.5 million in less than a year, and that program is now underway. But that's bank executives. What about in your neighborhood and in every neighborhood? And we're proud to support what's called BankWorks in conjunction with Dallas College. It is a free program that provides bank training to young people from low and moderate income areas, minority students, and trains them in basic bank skills so they can be a teller, be a lender, so that when someone walks into a bank in their community, there's someone that they may recognize, someone who knows that community. And so on these two levels, those are ways that we are investing. They're very real investments. We are enjoying the partnerships that we're building, not only with between the banks, but with community groups and educational institutions, and it's making a positive difference.
Wow. We've only got about a minute left. That's your camera on the right. What would you like to say to the viewer? Final thoughts?
Well, for the Texas Bankers Association, we're here not only for the banks, but for our customers. For example, in Washington, D.C. right now, the Congress is debating a reconciliation bill to the tune of over $3.5 trillion. And the IRS, to help generate revenue, wants to have the ability to surveil the bank accounts of our customers. They want to force the banks to have to file annual reports on inflows and outflows, transactions from your accounts. Now, we have a Fourth Amendment to the Constitution that says without probable cause, the government shouldn't be able to do this. Yet they seem to be negotiating that in Washington, D.C. So the message is that our banks not only care about what's important to them from a business standpoint, but for our communities. Because at the end of the day, Texas banks are the heart of the community. When someone has a ball team they'd like to get sponsored, hey, the banks are going to be there. When someone wants to build a business and follow their dreams, the banks are there. And so it really is about the community at the heart of what we do in Texas banking, and the Texas Bankers Association is proud to do that.
Outstanding. Chris, you've been a great guest. We're going to end with a couple of websites. Let's start with advancetx.org. That's the Advanced Community Fund website. And then your website is texasbankers.com. Chris Furlow, CEO and President of the Texas Bankers Association. Thanks for coming on the show.
Jeff, thanks so much.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.